And speaking of
I
mental
don't want to talk
seppuku,
about.
welcome to the Real Stupid Review Show. I am Gerardo here with Cody, Eddie, Izzy, Nick, special guest, the very first, possibly the last, if the guest recommended movies like these, Mr. Oscar himself, bringing us a very special gift. Oh God, and not all gifts are good. Sometimes your grandma gives you socks and God, you want to kill her. So Oscar, what is it that you recommended for us today, good sir?
Why? I recommended Samurai Cop. 90s film, doesn't feel like it. At the beginning, we're introduced to these Japanese, Chinese gang clans in Los Angeles. And the San Diego Police Department send in the Samurai Cop to defeat them. Lots of stuff happen. People die. There's a wig. Basically, it's kind of like The Room. You have really shitty plot, terrible editing, terrible acting, but it's really funny in a sense because of these things. Like some of the best scenes, the constant teleporting when they reframe the same scenes, or the 3 random sex scenes that come out of nowhere, constantly mentioning that one of the characters is black and so is his ass. I'd say the movie, it's bad, but I liked it a lot. 4 out of 10. Not 4 out of 10. 4 out of 5.
10.
4 out of 5. 4 out of 5. I forgot you guys give it 5.
I'm gonna interrupt the transition here. Why did Fujiyama sound like that?
I believe it was actually the director who overdubbed all of his lines. And same thing for a lot of the other characters. It was the director overdubbing it.
But why the Mexican accent?
I thought it was more southern, which kind of plays into the sunglasses and the mullet. He's like a Japanese guy, and he constantly talks about, like, I love America, the business here, you know, stuff like that. He really seems like a citizen who just wants to integrate into society, while also selling drugs, which you don't see.
Why did Fujiyama's voice sound like that? Why did he do all of the ADR himself in general? Why was his recording equipment so bad? Why did his henchman guy with the big chin, why did it peak his mic every time he said an S? Why did the sword look so fucking beat up? That sword looked like it had seen
there was just 1,000
fierce battles. The edge of that thing looked like a fucking razor that's been dropped behind your cabinet in your bathroom 7 years ago. I will say there was a Bridges moment in this movie, as bad as it was, when he lifts Samurai Cop over the wall, and then Frank ducks under the wall, and he asks him why, and he's like, I'm an undercover cop.
That's the best line in the movie.
That was the best
I will give it to you.
In the movie.
His sidekick is the best character because he does not care the whole film.
I don't think anybody cared in this.
I just want to finish my review by quoting a very memorable scene from the movie. Shoot him, shoot him, shoot.
That and the Gettysburg Address, down in history as the greatest things ever said.
I have a quote that my girlfriend wrote. Thank you, Lauren. I would have preferred for this movie to have not been made. This is probably by far one of the most racist, misogynistic pieces of shit I've ever seen in my entire life. I tried really hard to find something remotely funny about this movie. The whole thing was a piece of shit. I regret watching it. I don't ever want to watch anything like this again. I feel personally insulted having watched this movie. Half of a star out of 5.
It was like almost instigating your own mugging in a bar. Like, you just say these things just to get your ass kicked and thrown out the window. And it's not sugar glass, it's real glass. And there's like shit sticking out of your neck and arm. Amir Shervan, the Iranian film director portraying American cinema. This is an outside source looking in that used to make Iranian films that were completely censored and to make them like pro-Islamic. And now he comes over to America and witnesses what American action films are. He's watching all these action flicks where it's like the guy always fucks the girl and the guy always gets away and there's always like the token black character. He was trying to relate how ridiculous our action films are. Unfortunately, he passed away before his film became a cult classic. But another part of it that's fun is Robert Zadar. He played as the maniac cop who is the zombie Matt Cordell. He passed away at a Comic-Con in Florida. He ended up having heart problems. He also had like a bone problem in his jaw. That's why he had like that really big look. I thought the movie was a lot more of perception. I think it was more of him giving like what he thinks America wants to see. kind of mixing it in with what he say would be comedy versus action. It did make me laugh, but not in a good way. You know, I love B movies and I have to respect it, but it doesn't really earn a spot in my heart. I hate to say, 2 stars to be nice.
This whole so bad it's good is such an interesting phenomenon to me. You know, we know what we're getting into. There's a new world out there of movies you don't watch to have a good time in the old sense. You watch with your friends, you have a couple drinks in you, and with the limited or high knowledge you have on filmmaking, you could laugh your ass off, realizing how not to make a movie. They're a lesson in how not to fuck shit up. It's like a weird, different form of criticism that comes from like the shared knowledge of what is appropriate and what makes something good. I thought this was a great time. I'm glad I watched this with like 5 other people. We were laughing hysterically the whole way through. Again, Nick, not because it's funny. Like, it's not funny. There's blatant sexism and racism coursing throughout it, you know? I'm going to give 2 ratings to this because I think that's fair, because this is its own classification of film. As a film, it's a 0.5 star for what it truly is, if there is such thing as an objective scale. As a source of prime entertainment, where there's probably laughter going on every single second in the background, yeah, this is going to be like a 4.
I think this brings up an interesting conversation over what is art. There are obviously things that are like undeniable, like the Starry Night or the Mona Lisa, maybe some things that are debatable, like a Jackson Pollock or like a Banksy. And as society, I think there are things we just kind of agree are fucking bullshit. I don't really think there is much merit to anything here. It didn't go extreme enough to counteract the bullshit filmmaking that was presented. Like, if it was just consistently way more fucking over the top, it would have been salvageable. Like, I think the only time there was like an artistic eye was during the sex scenes. Like, the stark difference in cinematography from the amount of shot variation in the action versus a sex scene trying to shoot every fucking nook and cranny of an ass crack. It's like their focus in filmmaking was definitely in the wrong area. If you want to make porn, fucking go ahead and make porn. Just don't try to disguise it as literally anything else. It wasn't good porn. It was fucking like one of the worst Skinamax level fucking shot things in the world. But by comparison, they were like, yeah, this action scene, I don't know, just put it on a tripod. We'll fucking put it over here. Yo, this titty though, let me get this close up. Let me do like a panning shot over here, you know? Let me get a 360. They've definitely put more thought into getting these fucking nudity shots than they did anything else in the movie, which, fair enough, whatever. I don't know. I think my issue was I'm a fan of movies that spoof this aesthetic, and if you're also a fan of that kind of thing, you're going to be disappointed going into this. Go watch Kung Fury, watch Psycho Gorman, Planet Terror, Black Dynamite. All of those will kind of satisfy that, where they're very self-aware in what they're doing. This is going to a dive bar expecting to be like this hipster place. You end up going, it's an honest to God dive bar, and you're going to leave with a venereal disease.
You order at bars.
The venereal disease special.
He doesn't drink.
Exactly. I don't know what I'm just saying things. I don't know. I've never been to one.
But Gerardo, you have a
1 out of 5.
Find me on social media. I do photos. Listen to Oingo Boingo, my favorite band. Gerardo doesn't listen to them.
It's a dumb name. I refuse.
Gerardo, I recommended them. I recommended them to you like 2 years ago. And
I only listened to them out of principle that you recommended. I just refuse to listen to it. It could be amazing.
Danny Elfman's band.
I'm aware.
It is Danny Elfman's band.
Listen, you can't beat the Spider-Man soundtrack. I mean, you know, it's only going to be a disappointment.
He did this.
Street Trash, really good show, really good movie. Go check out Street Trash. It'll make you realize what a good cult movie is and what it brings to the table and how it can be disgusting and ridiculous and over the top, but it's also something that people love and they want to show people because they won't get them kicked out of high school. You know what I mean? Anyway.
Well, I'm talking about a movie called Who Killed Captain Alex. And if you have not heard of that or watched that, then you are fucking doing a disservice to yourself. It is incredibly entertaining and there's a lot of passion put into it. So that's a cult movie. You should absolutely watch it. It's Uganda's first action movie, dude. I just finished watching Tampopo, which is the first noodle western, not spaghetti, noodle as in ramen noodle. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful cowboy movie about a ramen restaurant and this woman who's running it trying to make it better. and it really explores food and its role in our society and our lives in ways that are fucking hilarious. I cannot recommend it more than enough. I am glad I got to watch that with my friend right before this. I just watched Rashomon with the same friend, which is an older film by Akira Kurosawa. I know that there is something called the Rashomon effect. People remember the same event in different formats, and this movie spawned that.
If you want something that's monumentally better than this movie, go watch Dr. Pimple Popper. It's probably a trillion times better than this.
I really want to say that I hate you, Eddie, because for this thing, I have to find footage of Dr. Pimple Popper to put over it, and I just refuse. I'm just gonna stock footage of dogs. So there's that.
The Grand Budapest Hotel, as recommended to me by Izzy. The movie was fantastic. The fucking end surprised me. I didn't realize that we were going to be talking about Nazis again. But you know what? It was cool.
Kung Fu Hustle. If you haven't seen it, watch it with someone else so that they can watch you watch Kung Fu Hustle for the first time. This movie is incredible. They get everything right. It is so goofy and wacky and stupid and so dedicated to the comedy, but also combined with some pretty damn solid like kung fu filmmaking. It is fantastic. I went to a movie theater for the first time, and it may have been the worst movie theater experience I've ever had. The lens was extremely out of focus. The doors and all of the theaters were open, so there was a lot of bleed over, and the volume was turned so low. It was still fucking lovely going back to a theater, and I'm so glad that I did it. I know it's not going to be the same as it was before. You're not going to have all the people there. They are running a skeleton crew. Beer costs $13 now, and they probably don't have their gear set up properly. I want to be able to keep going, and people go and they make money. They'll get back to where they were.
The Mitchells versus the Machines. It is a story of a girl heading off to college. She was very happy to be leaving because her family doesn't really have the same enjoyment for her passion of filmmaking. So in a ditch effort to reunite with her daughter, the father cancels her plane ticket, makes a last-second drive to the college. Kind of a standard setup. I feel like there's been movies that had that. But in the middle, robot apocalypse just erupts. It's the same people who made Spider-Verse, or at least it's Sony Animation, so it has that same kind of like art style. The writers are people from Gravity Falls, also from I think Spider-Verse. It's really funny. The designs and the little mixed media that they use, I thought was very visually interesting. It's a really cool, wholesome family movie.
Since it's May the 4th, I think we need a special kaiju court here.
Do we do our favorite scene or our favorite movie?
Bro, we're not going to hear anything. Just
We're just going for it. Rogue One is the best one. Everything else is bullshit. Darth Vader kills a lot of bullshit. I don't know what the universe is Stormtroopers. I think that actually had the post-credits sequence scene with the CGI was honestly pretty good. C-3PO, I think, was always gay. It seemed to me. Chewbacca is definitely top. He definitely railed Han Solo. That's really hard.
And as soon as they decided that they wanted to abandon what they had going in that movie, it blew up the entire series.
I remember being 8 years old and listening to the theme song, "If You Smell What the Rock Is Cooking." Boom.
Do you think the five of us could take The Rock in a fight together?
Hard enough.